What's going on, Tackle Warehouse fans? Jake here bringing you this week's episode of What's New at TW. Got a bunch of sweet stuff for you as always. We're getting ready to roll into October. That temperature's finally going to start to drop. Fish are going to start moving up shallow, moving in the back of creeks. Top water bite's going to start getting really good, and the fish are going to start chasing bait. So we got a bunch of stuff. Let's go over the first few pieces of terminal I got for you from our buddies over at Spearpoint Hooks. Funny story, one of the guys who started this company used to be my neighbor back in our high school days, back when I used to break into the golf course ponds and fish at night. So this first hook here is their new offset worm hook. So they got a bunch of new hooks coming out. We just got a couple of them in stock that they released over at iCast. So if you're not familiar with Spearpoint Hooks, down here in the bottom is kind of their signature deal with that V-grip design on there. And what that V-grip design does for you is when you set the hook and the fish gets down into the bend of that hook, it keeps them pinned down there in that V, and it's way harder for the fish to shake the hook. So your landing ratios go way up with these styles of hooks. So if you haven't checked them out, you definitely want to try them out, try out some of the newer styles. So they're expanding their lineup, this new offset worm hook, pretty much an all-purpose hook that you can have in your tackle box that you can fish a ton of different stuff with. Everything from, soft plastic jerk baits, worms, creature baits, lizards, craws, whatever you want. An offset worm hook is a must-have in the tackle box that you can do just about anything with. It's a standard gauge wire hook, so going to be good for any of that, like 10 to 20 pound line. You're not throwing this on your 65 pound braid flipping stick, but just that general purpose offset worm hook, must have in the arsenal. If you're not a fan of the offset hook, we have just the straight shank hook. So again, regular gauge wire. It's got two little small micro barbs on there, so you can really thread on those really small kind of finessier hand pour soft plastics, and it's not going to tear them up like a flipping hook would with the double barb keeper on there. So again, straight shank hook, going to be great for Texas rigging, any type of soft plastics, and it's not going to tear your worms up like the bigger flipping hooks are. But again, you can run that on that 10 to 20 pound line. Great for Texas rigging. And the one I'm most excited about here is their new trailer hook. So this thing right here is nasty looking. And I always try to run a trailer hook on my spinner baits. And one thing they did on theirs that I'm really a fan of is they put the rubber over the eyelet, so you can snap it on there. It's going to keep it in place. It's going to keep that trailer hook running straight back. So you can even run these on top of a soft plastic trailer if you'd like. So I like these designs a little bit more than kind of the free swinging trailer hooks, because if you do want to run maybe a swim bait or a fluke or a grub or something, that free swinging hook will kind of move around and foul up your soft plastic. With these, since they have that kind of rigid design, you can actually run a trailer and the trailer hook at the same time. And with that design on there, if fish are coming up to short swipe your spinner baits, buzz baits, you can even put this on a chatterbait if you want, they are not going to get away. And that's a pretty good solid hook on there to hook those fish. This one's a little bit heavier gauge, so no problem. You can run it on a heavier duty setup if you're really ripping your jigs or spinner baits through the grass and you have a heavier duty setup. You don't have to worry about straightening that hook out. And then once they're on there, they're not going anywhere with that V-grip design. So check out all the new stuff we got over from Spearpoint Hooks. All right, let's go to some hard baits. We got some interesting ones for you this week. The first one here, something that I've never really seen before. So this is a new Jackall finesse topwater bait. It's called the Piku 78. And when I first got out of the package, I totally had no idea what to do with this thing. And with the shape of it, so you throw this thing out there, it's a topwater, and with that top line tie, you twitch it, and it's gonna rock kind of side to side, just like a wounded shad. I think it's gonna be really good upcoming here in the fall, especially when that topwater bite starts to pick up. Generally, this time of the year, they're kind of keyed in on smaller bait fish and smaller topwater baits. This is gonna be deadly. Just the overall profile of it, it's not as big as like maybe your 5-inch super spook or big topwater like that. So this is really downsized. It is a finesse topwater bait. You're not working it fast and covering tons of water with it. You're gonna kind of be targeting schooling fish that you see, or more targets where you think fish are located at. So you can throw this on a spinning rod, or you can throw it on a bait casting rod. I think it comes in around around 1/10 of an ounce or something like that. It's pretty light. So like I said, no problem with a spinning rod, or you're gonna have to use a lightened up downsized bait casting setup. But gonna be great for ponds and just any of those places where the fish are really keyed in on those dying shad, or they're really blowing up on shad and you see those wounded ones on the surface, you twitch that thing and it's gonna rock side to side and just give the fish something totally unique to look at. And since it's Jackall bait, I mean, the quality on this bait is amazing. The highly detailed finishes, as you can see here on the gills, it's got a lot of detailing on the gill plates, the eyes, the paint jobs are superb, and then it's got some sticky sharp hooks that kind of have that Teflon coated or gray slick coating finish on them, so they kind of blend in. They don't shine like the black nickel ones. So something interesting, something new to throw in the arsenal. We're actually pretty excited to try this one out here in the fall. A couple other baits on the smaller side that we got here from Lucky Craft. The first one here is the Lucky Craft Be-Free 65 long bill. So really small jerk bait, you know, even smaller than the 78 size. So it's got that really small profile. I believe it's about 2 1/4, 2.5 inches. But this thing actually gets down to 6 feet, which I think is gonna be awesome. Just gets you deeper into the zone where the fish wanna be. You don't have to be fishing right up on the surface. Most of the time with the smaller, you know, with the really small jerk baits, they don't run as deep. This one's gonna get you down just a little bit deeper than most of the other ones on the market. We got some really cool colors in this one. And with this bait specifically, you're not just limited to bass fishing, because it is that smaller profile. You can use this for targeting crappie and walleye and trout and all kinds of stuff. I have a bunch of 65 size jerk baits, none of them with that long bill on them though, specifically for maybe fishing up in the High Sierra Lakes or something like that and targeting trout, and they eat the heck out of these things. So I'm super stoked to get one with that little bit longer bill, just target a little bit deeper depth zone. And then we also have the new Be-Free 78. Well, the Be-Free 78 is not a new product entirely, just new to Tackle Warehouse. The Be-Free 78 is a JDM model of a Pointer 78, but we've got some cool colors that we haven't had in the original Pointer series, like this one right here, this silver black one. It kind of has the same kind of color schemes as like an Aurora black, but with the silver flake in it versus the abalone finish. So you can kind of see it right here side by side next to an Aurora black. Really cool color, super pumped about this one. So if you're looking for some smaller jerk baits for the upcoming fall bite, check out both those new two Be-Freezes that we just got in. The last one from Lucky Craft. So this is the new Lucky Craft Gunfish 95 H3. And right out of the gate, the H3 stands for the 3 hook model. So the Gunfish 95 has always just only come with 2 hooks on it. So it's had the one in the front, one in the back, but now we got it in a 3 hook model. Now the Gunfish 95 is a fish catching topwater. Not only does it walk side to side, but it has that small cup mouth, so it also sprays as well. You can actually fish it just like you would with a popper if you just want to pop it and then let it pause, but you can walk it. But these are fish catching baits that Lucky Craft has had in their lineup for a long time. But if you're somewhere where you're dealing with maybe schooling spotted bass or smallmouth bass or maybe largemouth that are just coming up and swiping at the bait, now you have that additional treble hook that's just gonna dramatically increase your hookup ratio. I'm super stoked about this. There's a few guys in our office that we're always super pumped up when we get kind of those small topwater, small walking baits that actually come with 3 hooks on them. So love having the 3 hooks, just more chances to hook the fish, especially with, you know, spotted bass. We all know how much those fish can be a pain when they're coming up and trying to blast the bait and they don't get it. That 3 hook is just going to tremendously increase that hookup ratio. So already a phenomenal topwater, just made even better now from Lucky Craft. So check that one out. The last hard bait we got, another one that we've been anticipating for a long time in our office specifically. This is the new Fritz side, the new Click and Fritz side from Berkeley. So the Berkeley Fritz side has been out for, I believe, 2 or 3 years now. As I believe is a couple years ago, the Classic is when the pros first had the Fritz side, and this is a fish catching crankbait. They've got them in a bunch of sizes from a 5 all the way to a 9. This one is the 7 size that I'm holding here, and it's a flat-sided crankbait. But Berkeley worked really hard to improve the castability and the fishability of flat-sided crankbaits. And most old-school flat-sided crankbaits are made out of balsa. And balsa is a finicky material. It's really light. They're difficult to cast, but Berkeley nailed it with this bait, and they've got weighting systems in here, so it fishes just like those old school balsa flat-sided crankbaits, but it's so much more easier to cast, and it fishes great. They're all gonna run the same. You don't have to worry about, you know, you get some balsa baits, you'll get one that runs really, really good and one that doesn't run, maybe doesn't run so good. Now with the addition of the clicker in here, the click and Fritz side, it's not a crazy, you know, like multi-chamber rattle system like some crankbaits that you get on the market. You know, there's gonna be multiple rattles in them, they're super loud, super aggressive, or there's the louder one knocker. This is kind of a blend since it does have just a single knocker, but it's a very small, high-pitched clicker in there. So it's not super loud like, you know, the big heavy-duty one knockers, just has that clicking noise, and they really try to capture kind of that sound of crawfish on rocks. So kind of subtle, but still makes noise. So it's gonna be great when you wanna have maybe have your silent Fritz side tied on and a clicking one at the same time. So if you get a school going and they shut down, you can always switch between the two and just show them a different presentation between a silent and a clicking. Or those times when maybe you're fishing low light conditions or you're fishing a little bit dirtier water and you just want that little bit of sound that's not completely silent, the clicking one is going to be the way to go. Also in the click and Fritz side, there are some new colors that were not available in the Fritz side before. So they got some new craw colors. One that we're all pumped about is this new ghost red craw. Kind of that, you know, dark red with kind of a black to green back on it, but it's a translucent craw. So it helps take on the color of what kind of environment you're fishing in, and it kind of blends in and looks a little bit more natural. We're super stoked about this one over here to use on some of our West Coast lakes. All right, got some spinnerbaits, jigs, and spoons to wrap up the baits here. The first spinnerbait here from Crusher Lures, another spinnerbait that I'm super pumped about. This is the Jamie Hartman Vivid Double Willow Series spinnerbait. So designed by Jamie Hartman. When that guy came onto the Elite Series, he was a threat, and I mean, he did super well in all the tournaments his first year. That guy knows how to catch some fish. This spinnerbait, in particular, on the frame, they're using a piano wire frame, so it's got a lot of flex to it, but it's really strong. But one thing I do like that they did with the frame is it is kind of a matte gray finish on it, so it's not real shiny like some of the other spinnerbaits out there. So it kind of helps camouflage it a little bit, kind of helps separate the image from the bait itself, or the actual spinnerbait body and the blades, but still has that great amount of flex in it, so you're gonna get tremendous vibration on the head. Super streamlined design. As you can see, it's really narrow, and the other thing that they did with the head is that they put a lot of detailing in it, and they also color match the paint jobs with the skirt. So when this thing is going through the water, it's gonna look streamlined. It's not gonna have, you know, all the spinnerbaits in the lineup don't have the same color head that's just gonna be, you know, one protruding object up at the front of your bait. So they all look really natural, and they look really good, you know, painted up with all the skirt colors that they did. Down on the hook, one thing I wanna note is they're using a XXX owner cutting point hook on there. So a crazy sharp hook. It is a long shank hook, so it sits back there pretty far, so it's gonna be great if there's those places where you don't really want to run a trailer, maybe it's more snaggy cover, you're still gonna have plenty of hook back there. It does not have any kind of a keeper system on there, so I think they're building this spinnerbait for more speed fishing. It's gonna be a little bit more well suited for burning it and doing faster retrieves and not having anything on there that's gonna slow it down. So with that narrow head and the way they designed it, you know, without a keeper system on it, you can burn this thing fast, and it's gonna fish your cover really quick and get those reaction strikes. So if you're looking for a spinnerbait that you wanna fish quick and you don't run soft plastic trailers on it anyway, that's gonna be the one you wanna check out there from Crusher Lures. All right, new swim jig, one that I think everyone in our office was super pumped about since it seems like we gotta downsize all the time now. The new ZMan Midwest Finesse Swim Jig. So this is the 3/16 size. They have it in, I believe, a 5/32, 3/16, and a quarter. So really, really small swim jig. And it's super compact profile. It comes with a 3/0 needlepoint hook on there. So it's gonna be perfect for those, like, you know, really small, you know, 2.8, 3.8 swim baits, the slim swims, the baby goat, twin tail grubs, just any of those really compact soft plastics are gonna work great on this. And it's just a super small profile. It's got that the ZMan dual track head design, so it comes over cover really well. Vertical line tie, you can run it through grass. It does have a little weed guard on there. It's not a crazy stiff weed guard, so I probably wouldn't be running it right through the middle of grass. And the hook, it's super sharp, but it is a lighter wire hook. So again, Not something that you're probably gonna run on a flipping stick with 65-pound braid because you'll bend that hook right out. But I'm super pumped when the fish are finicky or there's just a ton of people out on the lake. You know how it is when the fishing gets hot and there's 50 boats out there, you gotta downsize, and this is gonna be the way to go. Or those times when they're just after those really, really small bait fish, this is gonna be a great option for you. Probably run it on like a medium heavy rod, 10, 12, 15-pound line is gonna I would think would be the sweet spot for this. If you go too heavy, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult to cast because it's 3/16 of an ounce, and then you're gonna run into the issues of setting the hook and bending that hook out. But a finesse option that's gonna be great, help get you bites when the fishing's tough. So super stoked about those from ZMan. All right, last one we got up here, or last for baits I should say, from Dixie Jet. We got the new Talon Flutter spoon. When I saw this thing, I was like, they should have called it the Battle Spoon. I mean, look at this bait. Big Magnum flutter spoon, super wide body, and what sets it apart is all the hooks on it. So it does have 3 treble hooks. Make sure you check your state's game laws in case you're in a state that you can only run 1 or 2 hooks or something like that. Just take those off the side. But if you're fishing those areas like maybe those ledge lakes where the spoon bite gets really, really hot, and you get those schools of fish fired up and you can just catch one after another, this one you might want to check out. I mean, with the 3 hooks, it's going to give you the option to catch multiple fish at one time. And if you're on one of those spoon bites, I mean, some of those spoons, the 8, 9-inch spoons are so big, sometimes the fish will come up and T-bone the spoon and they don't get any hook. With this thing, if they come up to bite it, they're getting a hook somewhere. So you got treble hooks all over the place. There's pretty much not a way they could attack this spoon and not get a hook in it. Another cool thing about these Dixie Jet Talon spoons, the way that they're weighted and the way that they're shaped, they actually sink away from you. So if you like to fish bridge pilings or underneath docks, you can pitch it up in there and it's actually gonna flutter down and sink away from you. So, we've seen James Watson do that on MLF where they flip under docks and they get that thing way underneath there and get to those fish that are suspended underneath docks over 100 feet of water that are nearly impossible to catch. This is one of the tools that you can catch them with. And now that you got all those hooks, they are not getting away. So 3 premium hooks, heavy duty split rings on there, just a sweet new spoon there from Dixie Jet. Last up, from KastKing, we got a new spinning reel. This is the Zephyr BFS spinning reel. So super compact, I believe it's 1,000 size. It's got a real shallow spool on it, made for ultralight line finesse fishing. So it only holds about 60 yards or 65 yards of 6-pound, but if you want to run braid, I believe you can get around 150 yards of 10-pound braid on there. So super lightweight, made for finesse style fishing. This is not going to be a spinning reel that would be my first choice for loading up with heavier line and fishing heavier baits or multiple species and really putting a lot of pressure on it. So really made for the lighter line applications for bass fishing and smaller fish if you want to do multi-species with it. So all carbon fiber frame, and it's got a full aluminum spool on there. And as you can see on that spool, they cut out about every piece of metal that they could, even from the drag knob on the top and around the spool to just overall decrease the weight. It's got a carbon drag system on it that's super smooth, and they have a really loud clicker on there as well, which I like. So when that drag is moving, it's not one that's kind of quiet, especially if you're in maybe windier conditions or it's loud outside. You'll be able to hear that drag. It's incredibly smooth. There's no anti-reverse on it because it's got that sweet carbon fiber drag system. It's already got an incredibly smooth drag system. It actually comes in at $69 as well. So, I mean, super compact, great for finesse fishing. If you're looking for a nice reel at an awesome price, if you want something that's dedicated for kind of finesse specific fishing with a spinning rod, and you're not going to, chase after stuff that's too big, the KastKing is going to be the way to go. In the package, they actually put they gave you a couple of line markers as well, or line stickers, which is a nice feature. Just give you a couple of extra things there in the package so you can mark on there what size line you put on there and the date, so you always know. If you got 20, 30 rods in the garage, every once in a while you forget what size line was on it, how long it's been on there. Just kind of a bonus that they throw in the package for you, which is a nice feature from KastKing. That's going to wrap up today's episode of What's New at Tackle Warehouse. For more information or to purchase any of these products seen here today, make sure to click shop or the link in the description below. If you enjoyed this week's video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, let us know in the comments which one of these products you're most pumped about.